You need to build your own business. You need to stay up 24 hours of the 24 hours in a day. You got to be working out. You got to be weightlifting. You got to be looking like a certain way. Right? Like, it's like you should work out. You should do your own things. But, like, your own way to do it. If you want to move out to Vermont, get a cabin, and then work a 9-to-5 job, and then you come home and you're living off the land at nighttime, and you have a great family, you got great land where you're having the food, you're watching the stars at nighttime, like, it's like a pretty good fucking life to me.
I was thinking about the conversation we had the other day, because, like, I just feel like it's really romantic to talk about, you know, starting a business and whatnot, and going through the hard phase of working hard and not making a lot of money. And then when you're going through it, sucks.
Yeah.
And it's not like we grew up super poor and like we have this crazy, sad, sappy story. I think the real problem, like the challenge that we face that I think we'll be able to actually speak on with true authenticity is, you know, we came from middle-class family, and like that presents its own problem in terms of chasing the 1%. When you're born into comfort, it's like, it's, you know, I can't speak on the behalf of people that grew up poor, but it's almost like you're not born with that hunger, you know. You're also not born into poverty where you have to worry about where your next meal is going to come from. So pick your problem. It's a good problem to have. I'd pick my problems any day, but it's still hard as fuck, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, where do you draw that line? I don't know, but at the same time, it's like, again, I think it's cute to talk about, you know, you can do it. And then when you're doing it, it's like, it sucks.
Yeah, no, I think like what I was thinking about while you were talking was a lot of times, like, well, we're building something for ourselves. So yes, like we did come out of middle-class families, and like don't get me wrong, we could drop school, we could drop the business, and we could live at home for free. Like, not saying we're gonna do that or you should do that, but that is that is an option, right?
Of course.
And that is an amazing option. That gives us a huge advantage, right? Because that covers expenses, like just objectively speaking, that covers expenses that we don't necessarily need, and we can put those expenses to something, say, for instance, like the business or something like that. So already, like, we're already in a great spot, right? Like, especially within the individual scenario that we're in, we're already in a great spot when you compare, like, most people that start businesses are like over 50 anyways, right? It's not young individual. Like, that's the stereotype, right? And it's like most entrepreneurs are over 50, have been in the industry for like 30 years, right? And so I think what's so unique about us, and what I think is going to be especially if we document it, right? Well, when we document it, is people are going to be able to look at how, because there's no one necessarily, I was thinking about this the other day, there's no one that's necessarily telling us to do this, right? Like, this is all proactivity. We're creating something for ourselves, right? And it's the same thing with like videography, right? And it's like, we developed this skill on our own, right? Not through, say, for instance, like school, say, for instance, like, kind of the concrete path. Like, this is completely outside. So we, obviously, in addition to the external resources and environment that we're in, within the things in our control, we built this life ourselves, right? Like, this is completely a skill that we built upon, right? And so that's a lot of times like what I like to think about and what kind of motivates me to keep going. It's just like obviously, in addition to everything that's gotten to me to this point, like within my control, we've been the ones that have been able to build this, right? And it's like, it's been from the ground up, right? And it's like, it's been through hard work, right? And it's like, we're very fortunate to be the individuals that can operate in that kind of meritocracy, right? Like, where kind of our hard work does result in where we're going to be, right? So it's like, the harder we work, right? Or the smarter we work, will determine, based on how things play out, external conditions, where we're going to end up, right? And so it's just like kind of the mantra. It's like, the only thing stopping us is if we just stop trying, right? And it's like, it's as simple as that, right? For a lot of people, it's like, no matter how hard they try, they'll never get to that point, right? They'll never even get to the point to be able to start a business. And that's why I'm so grateful. We're so lucky to be in this spot, right? But it sucks, right? And it's a great battle to have, and it's something I'm going to keep in mind forever, you know? So it's like, we'll be able to create this ourselves. And I think, it's making a big difference.
I think the thing that struck home for me is thinking about like the people that are actually going to watch my shit. So like, if you have the ability to watch this podcast or to scroll on TikTok or Instagram and watch me speak about business or life or whatever, then we have, at least to some extent, similar opportunities.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm black, I'm a woman, all that shit aside. Like, you're not a slave. You're not. You have a phone. You have time to consume content either on social media or on YouTube or on Spotify or whatever. It's like,
there's something you can do.
If that is a leisure you have access to, you're already above 90% of people that have ever existed ever. Obviously. Again, I'm not saying that, like, I'm not trying to discount the fact that people have their shit and it's easier for me in some ways than it is for others.
Oh, yeah.
But
you're within the sphere of what can be done. Like,
you have a phone.
Yeah, you have a phone.
Period. You have a fucking phone. Like,
You can do business on the phone.
That's exactly what I was thinking. You know, I was thinking about the other day because I was like, my computer's kind of getting a little wonky. I was like, how am I going to do sales calls with just my phone? I was like, what do you mean? Exactly what you're doing, just harder because it's on a smaller screen. Again, even me saying that, I'm like, motherfucker, there's like kids in Indonesia that are just making t-shirts all day for free. Like, that's their life. And it's like, geez, dude, I don't know. Like, it just puts it in perspective. And it's just, I feel like I owe it to them and I owe it to me simultaneously to do everything I can with the cards I've been dealt. Because how much of our situation is pure luck? Like, most of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you look at it, it's just we were just dealt this hand. Yeah. We're born in America. We're born to a middle-class family.
How many people do you think are dealt that hand and don't do anything about it?
And that's exactly what my point.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I feel like I wouldn't be in a position where I'd feel the need to even say, get off your ass and stop being lazy if there weren't so many people that I see firsthand that are like that, you know? And it's like, it's the middle-class struggle. It's like you grow up in a comfortable environment and then all of a sudden you feel comfortable. Yeah. And so it's like, yes, it's very good because you don't have to deal with these actual real life struggles that a lot of people have to deal with because they were dealt a shitty hand and you were not. But that doesn't mean you're going to be happy. And like, it's the self part, the self-imposed discipline that you need to impose on you, from no one else, because no one else gives a fuck. That's hard because it's like, what are you going to do? Sit around? I feel like it's the reason why depression and anxiety rates and all these mental health disorders are the highest in families where they make the highest level of income. To me, it's like, I mean, obviously it's a telltale sign, but it's like, even that thought is kind of scary. Like the thought of like raising my kids in a house where it's like everything they could ever want, they just have at the drop of a hat. It's like, that's kind of scary to me. I don't, because I didn't have that, but I had it fucking good. Obviously, I never had to worry about food or like, I never had to worry about anything. Like my mom even paid for my school. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot I didn't have to think about, which I'm blessed to have. But I feel like it's, you know, there's obviously levels to it where it's like, okay, you want a Ferrari? Here's a fucking Ferrari. It's like anything you could ever want ever just at the drop of a hat given to you. It's like scares the shit out of me. I don't know.
Why does it scare the shit out of you?
I don't know. Just like, I feel it's because like that reality's I inherently know is going to come true for my children. By the time I have kids, because I'm not going to have a kid until my net worth is over $1 million. That's like personal net worth before I retire my parents and stuff like that. Like, I'm not going to have any kids before I have $1 million. Just my baseline. And with that in mind, I know that I'm going to keep going in business just because I love the game. But with that's going to come all this money and resources and excess of everything. And it's like, you know, imagine you're a kid. Like you grew up and your mom, at the drop of a hat, could get you anything you want. Anything. Like you grow up just anything you want at all. Do you think you'd be spiritually sound like you are now?
Yeah.
Of course. I would.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't. No.
It's like, fuck.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
How do you parent kids like that? Because then I don't know. Like, I don't know dick about parenting, obviously, but
I don't know. I just really don't like this conversation. Like, I just
really,
I like it. I like it, but I don't at the same time, right? Because it's like, because I think to me, the whole idea of like wanting more, getting hungry, like it's a great conversation to have. And like you said, it is a legitimate struggle of the middle class, but it's like, I feel like it's just, every single time, and maybe this is just kind of a bias I have. I feel like people will look at this and maybe this is just for young entrepreneurs and maybe that's the message we're trying to send. Right. And it's like, yes, I get that. Right. But it's like, it just feels like just this one kind of concrete path. Like, I just don't like the whole idea of the 1%, like the 1% male, right? Like you're just like David Goggins, right? Like, I know that's not what he's trying to say, right? I know that's not his message, but I think to me, it's just people will start to chase after all these materialistic things, and then they'll kind of feel like, oh, once they get the Ferrari, once they get, you know, the big house, and I know that's not what they're trying to say, right? And I know that's not what you're trying to say, but I think a lot of times people can just kind of have that misinterpretation, and it just leaves this kind of pit in my stomach, and it just feels kind of not. I don't want to like, not saying the conversation we're having is not a conversation worth having, but I just think it just needs more grounding in kind of like an authentic lifestyle, if that makes sense.
So like, what do you mean? Like,
so because when you're pursuing, for instance, I think the conversation we need to be having is more so needs to be along the lines of how can it be relatable to young individuals that are like in our spot, right? And so kind of taking into account like how it can authentically fulfill their life in a way that makes them feel happy, right? Because it's like, look, yeah, we're having this conversation, we're talking about all these things, but it's, I don't know, to me, it's like leaving that like little, and I don't even fully understand. I just have a pit in my stomach when we're talking about this kind of stuff.
Okay. Do you think it makes you feel disconnected?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But like, I don't want to say disconnected, but it's almost like, it just feels like I'm talking from a point of maybe in a way inauthenticity. Like when I'm talking about, for instance, I don't even want to say like spirituality, but like more deep stuff like that, or kind of like not even, I don't just want to even say like self-improvement, self-help. It just, I don't feel the same kind of passion and kind of alignment with who I am, if that makes sense. And it doesn't feel like I'm talking from who I actually am. It kind of feels like I'm talking from like a lecturer's kind of perspective, if that makes sense. And I know I just kind of abruptly brought this up.
Oh, okay. Like why? Like why do you think that you feel that way?
I think it's because like the only thing that makes sense to me is that gap that's where like it doesn't feel grounded in, I don't want to say my actual life, but it doesn't feel like grounded in what's real, you know? Like I know it is, but like I don't know, it just feels like we're kind of falling into that trap of talking about I don't want to say what like Chris Williamson talks about, or you know, kind of Iman Ghazi talks about. It just kind of feels fake. Like
really?
I don't know, bro. Like there's nothing wrong with talking about it, but I just think
I'm just not understanding the parallel of like the kid example.
The kid example.
Well, because that was the point that I was making of like just like imagine growing up with all those things. Not that, you know, like not that I
wasn't like responding to that example. No,
I
was just saying like in general. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm not.
Like, all right, it's a perfect segue.
Well, no, I get it. It just doesn't. To me, it just doesn't.
No, I got you.
It just,
yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like.
Yeah.
Maybe I also wasn't conveying the point the right way. I don't know.
No. It wasn't like in response to what exactly you were saying.
Okay. So, like, do you have an example of like something that we talk about that you think?
I think the best thing that I can say is probably like just that whole 1% example, right? Like you're just because I just don't want people to get the interpretation that, and like we've talked about this all the time, and I think I could have just summed it up like this, that like they have to pursue this kind of lifestyle, right? And it's like man, I wish I had a better way of explaining it.
Well, what do you mean by the 1%?
Kind of like this elitist kind of mentality, right? Of like, for instance, when you said like we're chasing the 1%, like we're trying to be different, right? Like we're better than everyone else.
What do you mean? What do you mean by elitist?
Kind of elitist meaning like the top tier percent of men. Like, and like,
but is that with a preconceived idea that you're chasing status?
I don't believe so. No, I think people could come at it from that angle, but I think I just want it to be grounded. Yeah, this would make a lot more sense. Just we're normal everyday people, right? Like we have normal problems. We have things that they're going through, right? And it's just like, I think a lot of times, like I know when I'm watching guys like Alex Hormozy and Chris Williamson and things like that, like I think these guys are just, they're no different from us, right? And it's like, I think the relatability, like that's what I feel like is missing. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't feel like I understand what you're saying and I get what you're saying, but I can't really relate to that, right? And it doesn't have the same kind of effect on me. And like, maybe that's just me and my limited beliefs, right? And I definitely have a lot of them.
Well, see, I don't think it's even a limiting belief. I just feel like, at least with me, like, because we grew up very differently.
Yeah.
Like, especially because you didn't grow up with a father figure. So it's like, that's kind of like my first paradigm shift that like I always have to consider, like when we talk about our upbringing, because like not having a male figure in your life like that. You had your older brother, but like it's not like a consistent father. It's like it's so different.
Yeah.
And it could be a good or bad thing. You turned out fucking good. So
thanks, Mom.
Seriously, your mom's fucking badass.
Just go, man.
But the immediate thing that I think of is like, when I think about a kid, let's say a kid in high school, that's a boy. That's probably our typical demographic. Like, talking to them about becoming spiritually sound isn't going to be something that's going to hit home for them. Talking about striving to become the best that they can be, just talking to them about taking responsibility for their life, talking to them about becoming the 1% isn't about status, at least from my perspective. Or isn't it about having a Ferrari or having these materialistic things or anything besides being happy? But that's what strikes, at least what would have struck me to my core of, that's what makes me want to do more. That's what makes me want to be better. It's like the inherent biological thing as a man, like that you just feel that need to strive to be better, to be the best. Like it's almost like it feels like it's just the way I'm wired. And I feel like a lot of dudes can relate to that. And like you just want to be the best. Like you like it's just competitiveness essentially. Like, but it manifests itself in different ways. And again, it doesn't mean that the fact that there's a hierarchy means that the fact that you're going to, play some status game, or that because you have a Ferrari, you're going to be happy, or any of these preconceived ideas, especially like when you said Iman Ghazi, like that's kind of one of the names that I'm like, I don't really like the whole way that he presents himself, or like, I don't like the undertone of Andrew
It's a good
Tate's.
message.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. Like the business advice is good advice. And I've never built a successful business. So it's kind of like, I'm not talking on that point. I'm talking on the point of like, I'm not a fan of the fact that like people, the undertone is putting materialistic things at the top, because I don't do that. But I do think chasing and striving and wanting to be better is, I don't know, it strikes me to my core. And so, I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of like there might just be a difference in the way that we view that.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I think I wasn't trying to say, like, because we literally have this conversation every single week. Like, roughly, generally speaking, like becoming your best version, fulfilling your purpose, right? And doing things that actually authentically satisfy you. Like,
right.
So at all 90 episodes of this podcast,
Quite literally.
So, but I get that. And I think sometimes I can run away with that kind of interpretation. Especially because, like you said, like these guys, they're sending a great message, right? And it's like Iman Ghazi, right? Like, I think it's just those kind of, the way they present themselves at times can be interpreted, whether it's intentional or not. It's like, she was like, ooh, be this way, or like my way or the highway, right? And it's like, this is what the fuck you got to do. And it's like, I get it, right? There's probably a lot of truth in there, but it just feels so forceful, and it feels like there's no room for freedom. It feels like there's no room to live your own life. And it's like, I think that's really that's really why I feel the way I feel.
So what do you mean by room to live your own life?
Meaning, like, you need to build your own business. You need to stay up 24 hours of the 24 hours in a day, right? You gotta be working out. You gotta be weightlifting. You gotta be looking like a certain way, right? Like, it's like, I don't know, like, you should work out. You should do your own things, but like, find your own way to do it, right? So it's like, if you want to move out to Vermont, get a cabin, right? And then work a 9-to-5 job, right? And then you come home and you're living off the land at nighttime. You have a great family. You got great land where you're having the food. You're watching the stars at nighttime. Like, that sounds like a pretty good fucking life to me, right? A lot of people love that, right? And it's like, that's what I'm talking about.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
It's hard for me to.
I understand.
Yeah, like
that makes way more sense.
Okay, yeah, it's just way more sense. Yeah. I had a hard time communicating it before, but it's just like, man, because a lot of times I think even myself, I think I can fall into the trap that I think we're the shit, right?
Yeah,
and it's like
100%.
It's
100%.
demon of myself and a demon of social media.
At least the way that I view, basically the way you came at that, because it makes a lot more sense when you're like describing the lifestyle. Maybe because I understand things and examples a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think it's social media especially makes the people who love the game show their life in a way where they idolize the things they get from the game, not the fact that they love the game. So like when you look at Iman Gaji, you see the watch, you see the car, you see the plane, you see the jet, the yacht, whatever. And young kids that, especially young men that are aspiring to be better, look at that and want that, and reasonably so, of course. You know what I mean? Like you're designed to want that thing because you want to be that 1% man, because essentially that's what keeps you going. And like, that's normal. But is that what's going to make you happy? And the answer for 99% of people is no. But 99% of people watching that want that. And so there's a skewed statistic there. It's like, that's only going to actually be achievable for 1% of people, because only 1% of people are going to actually love the game. Alex Hormozi loves the fucking game. Yeah. That's why he's in the spot that he's in. And you want that lifestyle, but you don't want to work like that. The question is why would anybody want to work like that? Why would you ever want to do that? Alex Hormozi doesn't even have kids. Like, this lifestyle that you romanticize, that you put on a pedestal, isn't fucking romantic.
Yeah.
At all. At all. It comes with so many issues.
Yeah.
How many autobiographies have you read? How many podcasts have you listened to from the people that are actually fucking winning, that are real, raw, and authentic? Not the Andrew Tate shouting and stuff. And again, I'm not even discrediting Andrew Tate, because there's a lot of stuff that he says that I agree with. There's a lot of stuff that he says that I disagree with. All I'm saying is these lifestyles are romanticized, and especially for young men, it's easy for them to get caught in the trap of like, I want to be a part of the 1%, not understanding what that entails. Not understanding that the reason why they're super successful in business, the reason why they have the Ferraris, because they love the fucking game, not because they wanted the Ferrari. The Ferrari comes as a byproduct of loving the game. Period. Yeah. And if you don't love the game, that's fine. Yeah. But when you have this, at least from the perspective that I'm understanding, it's like when people like Iman Gaji are putting this lifestyle, you know, whether purposely or non-purposely, on a pedestal, it makes people believe that that's what they want. But you can't have it if you don't love the game. But then again, why do you care about having it? Yeah. Why do you care? Like, what should be romantic is for you to sit down, close your eyes, and think about the lifestyle that you would really want to live.
Exactly.
If no one else could see it. If no one else could see it. Because the lifestyle that I want to live is I want to compete and I want to love. Period. Those are the two things I want to do. That's why business is so tangible for me, because like how much good I could do with the money. Like that, like I want to pick a game where, as a byproduct of being so good at the game, because I'm so fucking competitive, I can help as many people as possible. Yeah. Like, and the thought of retiring my parents while simultaneously playing a game, it's a fucking game. Like CJ Media, like we get lost in it. We got the new camera, got all this. Like, it's a fucking game, bro. Yeah. Like, head out of my ass, it's all a game. Yeah, 100%. And I love it. It's so competitive. It's like, you got to eat shit. You got to be disciplined. You got to like, it's the same thing as like becoming the best soccer player ever. And it's like, you're going to have to wake up at 5 a.m. and do that third workout because that's what Kobe did. And like, it works because it's going to get you ahead of the game. Like, it's all a game though. You know what I mean? Like, it's not life. Again, the question is, why do you even think that that's what you want? Like, when you talk about the lifestyle in Vermont with having a 9-to-5 and kids and a family and a loving life, like, I can't imagine that the person that's living that lifestyle is looking at Iman Gadzhi thinking, oh, I just wish I had a fucking Ferrari. It's like,
he's go fuck.
For what?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Yes, you got to determine what the vision is.
100%.
And I think that's something that I can find a lot of times myself lacking, right? Because I think a lot of times, like, and this we've talked about before, like I've struggled to create my own life, right? And it's like I have plenty of things, but I think it's like that since I don't even want to say so presently focused, right? Like I think it's sometimes I can get stuck in the weeds of things right, and forget where I'm going, right? And it's like I think that's something that I've been trying to develop. Like so, when you said like I just want competition and love, like that's it. Like when I thought about it, I was like, oh fuck, like I don't even know. Like I don't even know. Like I don't know. Like I know what I want, but I don't know what I want at the same time too, right? It's like, and I think that's the issue, right? And I think people in my spot will look at something that like we're doing, right, and not have a long-term vision for what we have. Because objectively speaking, you have a much better vision than I do, right, into the future, right? And it's like, it's just how it is, right? Because you've thought about it a lot more. I haven't necessarily thought about it, right? Like you know you want to change the world, you know you want to retire your parents, you know, like I mean, if I break it down, I mean, you said you didn't on the podcast today, like. I don't know if you said it on the podcast or before, like, you know, before you make or after you make $1 million, that's when you're going to have kids. It's like that kind of concrete standards and things like that are indications in your mind for when you're going to do certain things, right? It's like, I don't have those indications. Of course, I'm on a great path. Of course, I am not saying that, but I think that's something for myself that I need to think about. And I think a lot of times I just need to think about what I want in the future, right? And like, what is my vision, right? Not what Jason's vision is, not what Iman Ghazi's vision or Andrew Tate's vision. Like, what is my vision, right? And so obviously I love the game too, right? And I'm I mean, like I love eating shit clearly, right? I mean, like there's no doubt about it. You can look at my actions, right? You know, if you talk to me, that might be like, nah, man. I'm just like, no, I love this shit. It's awesome, right? It's like going through that process of being in the fucking trenches. Like that is fucking awesome, right? It's like when we go to a fucking soccer game or a football game and we're banging out a reel, we're staying up until 3 a.m. on a Wednesday when we both have to wake up early the next day. It's like, that shit is awesome, right? Like, of course, it sucks in the moment, but like, when you're going through those kind of steps in that process, right? It's like you're working towards a bigger vision at hand. And like you said, you get the camera, but it's not about the camera. It's about what that camera could do for you in 10, 15, 20 years from now. Not literally, but, you know, kind of figuratively. Like, 100%. How is that camera going to help me retire my parents? How is that camera going to help me change the world, right? And it's like things like that, I think, I look at this camera and I kind of see like an end all be all, right? And like, I don't necessarily know how I'm going to take that camera, right, and transform my life in a way to where I could, for instance, provide housing for former incarcerated people in tiny houses on a land trust, right? Like stuff like that, right? And like, I've thought about those things, but it's like, I think I need to kind of concretely engrave that into my kind of vision. And that will kind of push me forward on things to do more right.
Gear, bro. Like it's like if you could find a way to change up, but keep a consistent reminder. So like my phone screensaver, like is you made a promise, and for the first month, it always kicked me into gear when I looked at my phone. Now I just don't even see it. So then you switch it up. You write it in your whiteboard, and then it's a sticky note, and then you put it on your floor or something like something that like will change the way, but you'll still think about it. You still think about that same message. It just fucking kicks you into gear because like, I don't know. Cause like when you're talking about it, like a part of me almost wants you to not set like concrete things. Cause like,
I know.
Because like you're just such a free flowing spirit. Like I admire that about you. Yeah. And I think that it's a part of you that like brings you that joy. I also think that if it's causing too much chaos in your life where you feel aimless, you feel like there's no arrow pointing any which direction, that you should set some general goals. But I also think that like it is important for some people to understand, like, dude, some people just need to fucking go with the flow, and that's just how they feel. Totally. That's just how they feel. Because like, I look at like Rachel, bro. Like she's like, that's Rachel to a T. Like, what are we doing today? No clue. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Like that's the conversation all the time, and it's like there's a part of me that's like,
I kind of like it though. It's cool.
Of course,
right? Mystery, you know.
Right, cool. Exactly. Yeah. But then there's me who's like writing down what I'm doing every 5-minute increment for the next day on my whiteboard.
Like the fuck, like you live a little bit, dog. You know, like,
well, exactly.
It's perspective, like,
right? It's like it's you know how you feel.
It is, yeah.
And it brings it back to the same point, which is stop idolizing other people's lives. You don't know what they go through to have the things that they have.
Yeah.
Like you look at the people that are super successful in business and you think that you want the Ferrari when you don't understand that the only reason they have the Ferrari is because they love the game.
Yeah.
They never cared about the Ferrari, and that's why they have it. But you put that shit on a pedestal, and you work towards it, and you work towards it, and you work towards it, and you will never get it. But it's because you're going after the thing, not because you want the thing, because you want what the thing represents to you or represents of you. And you're not understanding that the only reason why somebody's going to get that thing is because it's a byproduct of something else.
Yeah.
And if you don't embody that something else, you're never going to get it. Or win the lotto and become depressed, because that's what happens with over half the lotto winners.
Really?
But yes.
Oh, wow.
You should look at the psychological studies on lotto winners. It's horrific. It's horrific. Damn. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because like when you get everything you want,
what's crazy to me, even thinking about that right now, is like there are so many studies. Let's take lottery winners because it's so easy to understand. So many people think that they want money because they think that that's what's gonna like their baseline idea on life is that money's gonna make them happy. Like, yes, money can make you happy because it will take you out of poverty. You don't have to stress about paying the bills. There's a certain amount, like, yes, okay, understood. You can do good with it for others. Okay, like, let's take out all these caveats. Like, if you win the lottery, you're at a much higher likelihood to become depressed. Why? That's for you to think about. It's fairly fucking obvious. But for you to still sit there with that knowledge and say to yourself, if only I had that Ferrari, if only I got a pay bump, if only I had X, Y, and Z, is crazy to me. That this information could be at your fucking fingertips, and you're still gonna live with these ideologies, still sit on this path pursuing these meaningless things that you know inherently aren't gonna make you happy.
it's immaturity, bro.
That's all it is. And there's a Jim Carrey quote that I love, and he's like, I wish everyone could be rich and famous so that they know that that's never what they wanted to begin with. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God.
You don't know until you know.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. That was a huge thing with TikTok for me. It was like, I thought I had this idolized version of 10K. 10K was like my huge thing of like, oh my God, like people are going to see my TikTok and they're going to think like, dude, like you're like really like doing it. Like that's amazing. And like to date, I still get compliments from so many kids that I grew up with of like, cause they're like, dude, I remember I saw your TikTok, got a million views. Like last night I'm at the gym and I ran into this kid and I used to coach him. He's a freshman in college now, and he's like, dude, I saw your TikTok, you were like blowing up, like that was crazy, like it's amazing. And then all his little posse of friends were like, yo, how many followers do you have? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, my initial reaction like 2 years ago was to try and act humble, but then tell you as many details as I possibly could so that I could feel significant, because it just felt so amazing to have 200K attached to my name, whatever the fuck that means. A, it's TikTok, so it's so easy, but B, it's like, it doesn't fucking matter. But last night, I remember sitting there after, like, in that conversation, I was sitting there, I was like, my first thing was like, it doesn't mean anything, guys. I'm like, that, and then they were all just like,
oh, you said that to him?
Yeah, I was the first thing, I was like, because I saw them all excited, I was like, I don't mean to, like, burst your bubble. I was like, it doesn't mean shit. I'm like, getting 1 million views, it doesn't mean shit. I'm like, it really doesn't. Like, what feels the worst is getting 1 million views, because the second you get the 1 million views, you're like, oh my God, there's nothing here. Oh my God, this is gonna be amazing. There's nothing here. There's nothing. I remember when I got my first video that hit 1 million views. It hit 1 million as I was walking into work at Carbone's. I walk in and I told this guy that was into content there, and he's like, oh, that's dope. That was it. And I was like, it was immediately like, woof, this is not what you think it is. The followers, the comments, whatever. And it was a small percentage of what it can get to, whether if you're this high level, A-level celebrity or whatever. And I just remember sitting there and they were just like, they had this look on their face like, huh. Because it was clear that like, I'm not some uber millionaire, but I had this taste of what they think that they want of influence or comments or likes or views or whatever. And they were just like looking at me like I was some psychopath. And I'm just like, God, I hope like that did something. And I'm like, that's way better than me sitting there like I used to 2 years ago and acting humble and then telling you as much as I could about like, like there's like so many comments. And I'm like, because like it's hard to like get around that. But I'm just, God.
Yeah, I even find myself falling into the trap all the time, and it's just like the hype reels and stuff like that. You just like look at certain ones, you're like, it's like, this one didn't perform as well. This one didn't, you know what I mean? So it's like stuff like that. And it's like, I mean, it's different because it's our business, and it kind of does matter, It matters in a different way, but like, not matters in like, oh, I'm cooler than you kind of way.
Status.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, man, I think, what was the first thing you said?
Sorry, I rambled. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just trying to remember what did you connect that to? Oh, the lottery winners, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Christ. I'm all over the fucking place.
No, I think it was,
I'm so Jason.
I do the same thing. When people first look at the lottery, they think of like even if you tell them exactly like what would happen if they won, right? Normal middle class person, you get everything you want, you're gonna be depressed. People will still do it, right? Because they don't have, like I was saying before, like it's like that sense of immaturity, right? It's that sense that they don't actually know what's going to happen, right? So it's just like when you watch porn, for instance, right? Yeah. It's like you think, oh yeah, this is going to be awesome, and then you do the thing, and then you feel awful after, right? And it's just like it's that exact same kind of process because now you've actually experienced it, right? And it's like people.
That's a good example.
People will not only like they won't even look at millionaires, for example. Like, put the porn example to the side, but like they won't look at millionaires, for example, real concrete experiences, secondhand experiences of what it's like, right? And people who don't have that vision, people who don't have that kind of concrete path of where they've gone through the motion and figured out actually what they want, they'll oftentimes just go with kind of what's in front of them.
Right.
And so what's in front of them a lot of times is the things that's plastered to them on a daily basis.
It makes so much
Kim
sense.
K, celebrities, that kind of lifestyle. And that's what they think they want. That's the lifestyle that they think they should have. And so I'm a victim of this, right? Like all the time. I get it. But like I think it's just I think you have to pay less attention to that and more attention to yourself and what you actually want, right? And it's like, especially when it comes to, and then also looking at those real world examples as kind of indications for what is the truth and what is not, like those real raw kind of, as a way to help you get on the right path and getting to the point of helping you fulfill what you actually want.
Yeah, that maturity just it really hits home.
Yeah, man.
That is everything.
Yeah,
because it's like there's so many big little kids just walking around Earth.
Damn. I know a few of them. So. Shut up.
Yeah, because it's like and a lack of empathy almost. Because it's like you look at any of these millionaires, like you want the lifestyle, you want like the martini in the Bahamas, because that's what that money can provide for you. But the people that have that money don't care about the martini in the Bahamas. The people that have all the money don't have any of the time because they just love playing the game. Yeah. So they don't have time to go on a vacation and shit. Not that they don't.
No, of course. Yeah.
But it's like you want these trade-offs, but the lifestyle that you desire is not a 20-piece suit that you can pick and choose certain aspects of their life. It's the whole Tiger Woods example. Like, everyone wants to be Tiger Woods. No one wants to be called the N-word, screaming at them, which is what Tiger Woods' dad did when he was training him as a kid, trying to get him to become the best. Like his lifestyle was a onesie. The DUI, the divorce, all of this, public stuff just in the news, like all of his personal life, like all of his, like all of this shit that you think is just like, you just want, like, oh, I wish I could be Tiger Woods. It's like, do you? Do you really?
There's something wrong there.
You wish you could be Michael Jordan. It's like, do you really? Watch the documentary. The part that hit home the most for me was when they were following him. They were filming him in his hotel room when he was at one of these big games, like when he traveled across the country, and he spent the entire day on the couch in his hotel room. Because if he even stepped foot outside of that room, he was going to be mobbed. He can't go eat. He can't go to the store. He can't buy fucking food. He can't just walk around. He can't enjoy the scenery. He can't do dick. He can't even go to amusement parks. He can't go to the Grand Canyon and look at the view. He can't go to Montana. He can't go fucking anywhere if there's one other human being in that area. Because all they're going to want to do is, can you have a picture? Can I have your time? Can you sign this autograph? Can you blah, 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 blah? Because that's his life. It's like, do you want that? Do you really want that? Because that's what it is to be great. There's a price you pay. And most people think that they would pay it, and they really fucking wouldn't if they were to actually be put in those shoes.